Dude, I am gonna get so much pussy.
An exasperated mad hat at pumpkin, the exaggerated swagger of a white 20-something. His belly full of alcoholic rum gin, vodka, beer, whiskey, shake it out, no vomiting. But his glasses hide the truth of the matter. He look in the mirror, all he do is get fatter. Attracted to his money like cheese to a cracker, making shitty videos, cause it's only manufacturers.
I don't know if you guys could tell by my appearance, but I didn't exactly have the biggest pair of balls growing up. I liked playing Nintendo consoles, watching cartoons, and getting groomed on Discord.
What?
So needless to say, I've never had the guts to watch a good slasher flick. Until now! What's happening? It's your boy Dity. I finally bit the bullet and decided that for Halloween this year, I'd be taking a look at 4 slasher movies from the 70s to the 90s, watching them for the first time, and then ranking them. Honestly, there's not much more to say other than that, but I'm gonna artificially increase this video's intro anyway, just because I feel like it. So, firstly, I'll be using a standard tier list template, as you can sort of see behind me. The thing you need to know before skipping ahead is that these movies are going to be ranked against each other, not overall. So, if I put a movie in C, for example, that doesn't mean it's a 5 out of 10. It means that it's just okay relative to the other movies on this list. Does that make sense? Cool. The second thing I want to bring up is the movies I've chosen. I'm only going to be watching the first movie in a franchise's collection, so no sequels, no reboots, none of that. This is why I've chosen to exclude Friday the 13th and Jason, since he doesn't show up until the second movie, and even then he doesn't get his hockey mask and stuff until the third, or so I'm told. I haven't watched it yet. You might be saying, hey Dity, isn't this kind of unfair? Most first movies aren't accurate representations of slashers at their best. And you're right! But quite frankly, I don't got time for all that. I have a job. I also ended up watching Terrifier for this video, but I think I'm gonna leave it out because I'm running low on time and footage from the film might get me demonetized. If you're wondering what my thoughts were, it was aight.
I mean, it's alright.
But yeah, maybe if this video does well enough, I can look into doing a sequel. But for now, this is what I've got for you guys. Sorry.
Hey, I thought you were going to record a video on Us next.
Who is this? I can't see in the dark with these sunglasses on.
It's Us, power fantasy anime, you know, shield hero, overlord. You said you'd make a video on us like months ago, and it still hasn't come out.
Oh, right. I wanted to make a Ditties episode for Halloween, and watching 4 movies as opposed to 10 whole seasons of shitty fantasy anime seemed like a better move for my mental health. In other words, I just needed a break. Plus, I've been talking about anime a lot lately, and I just kind of wanted to do something different. I doubt there's a lot of overlap in people who love slasher movies and people who watch dog shit shows like How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. But on the off chance you think you'd be interested in something like that, all I'm saying is that subscribe button's giving you the bedroom eyes. Are you just gonna not give it what it wants?
I'm about to come.
What better way to start off a list ranking slashers than, debatably, the first slasher ever? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre by Tobe Hooper, released all the way back in 1974, making it the oldest piece of media I've ever covered on this channel. At least until I finally get around to reviewing Homer's Odyssey. Now I feel like with these movies, and specifically the characters, people know the killers, but don't know what actually happens in the movies that they're in. They are pretty old films after all, and the average YouTube viewer is 14, so before each ranking I want to give a brief plot summary so that even if you haven't seen them, you can still keep watching this video. This should not be taken as a replacement for watching these movies though, and I'm going to keep it as brief as possible for that reason. You should seriously consider checking some of these out if you're into horror movies, because most of the movies on this list aren't held back by their age. and Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a prime example of that. Something notable about this movie was that it was marketed as being based on a true story. This is sort of a common thing nowadays to get people in theaters, but back then it was a novel concept, and the movie takes advantage of that gimmick by having its opening moments be a disclaimer, warning the audience that what they're about to see is not for the faint of heart. Now, was it actually based on a true story? No.
A marketing team lied to me? No! No, this can't be!
In reality, the film's killer, Leatherface, was just loosely based on Ed Gein, and it'll become apparent why later in the movie. We follow 5 middle-aged teenagers on a road trip in Texas: Sally, Jerry, Pam, Kirk, and Franklin. Along their journey, they decide to pick up a hitchhiker. Said hitchhiker is a weird, greasy-looking guy who's obsessed with meat, and this pisses off the vegetarian of the group, Sally, who kicks him out of their van. He also stabs Franklin, but that's unrelated. The group runs out of gas, parking at an abandoned home nearby. Kirk and Pam decide to go bother the neighbors for some, before stumbling across another house covered in animal bones and other weird shit. Instead of leaving like a normal person would, Kirk decides to continue breaking and entering before running into Leatherface for the first time, a burly man wearing a mask of human skin. One by one, the group funnels into the home, getting killed by a Leatherface each time. Eventually, Sally and her brother Franklin are the only ones left. It's the dead of night now, and despite Franklin's protesting, she decides to go look for her friends anyway, because this was before people had common sense, I guess. In the woods outside, Leatherface arrives with his signature chainsaw and kills Franklin in what I'd consider to be the best kill of the movie. The jump scare here is fantastic. It really got me on my first watch. Sally runs away and does a 5-gen loop before finally ending up at a convenience store that was seen at the beginning of the movie. In a surprise twist though, it's revealed that the owner of the convenience store, Leatherface, and the creepy man obsessed with meat who stabbed Franklin are all in cahoots. They're a family called the Sawyers. Sally is kidnapped and the family of butchers treat her to a nice dinner along with their grandpa, who's practically a living corpse. Before killing her, they decide they want to fuck with her first, but in doing so, they give her the perfect opportunity to run away. By sheer luck, Sally manages to escape from the Sawyer family and drive away with the help of a truck driver. The final few shots of the movie are her laughing hysterically while Leatherface spazzes out with his chainsaw. For being released in 1974, this movie was a fucking riot. I thoroughly enjoyed myself all throughout it. Was the acting kinda mid? Yeah. Were the decisions the characters made laughably stupid? Also, yeah, but for being the debatably first slasher movie ever, this film gets a lot of things shockingly right. For starters, the look of this movie is fantastic. Something I didn't detail earlier was that this movie was actual hell to work on, and part of the reason why was because they shot on location in Texas during the summer. When you see the actors sweating, it's real sweat, and when you see a look of disgust on their face as they enter the Sawyer home, that's real too, because the production staff used actual animal bones for their decorations. This gives the film a grimy look, but in the best possible way. You can almost feel the moistness and uncomfortableness while watching. It's great at setting the scene. The film's age helps it in this regard as well, because the graininess of the lens adds this grungy aesthetic. The shot composition here is amazing too. There's a lot of unique camera angles here, and it's really impressive for the time. I noticed this first just after Sally got kidnapped. The constant fidgeting of the camera's zoom and quickly switching from an upward and downward angle really sells the claustrophobic feel. Something else I also like is that Leatherface, despite being the, again, debatably, first slasher villain, is actually a victim. It's shown that the true villain of the movie is actually his father, whose abusive nature drives Leatherface to do what he does out of fear. It's a great subversion of expectations that you probably wouldn't see coming if you were just watching the movie casually after countless years of Leatherface memorabilia being shoved in your face. He's a horror icon like Mike, Freddy, and Jason, and yet unlike them, he's not some arbiter of evil, at least not in the first movie. He's just a scared, uneducated man, probably on the spectrum, doing what he's told, and I think that makes for a much more compelling antagonist than just some evil guy running around killing people for no reason. The only things I didn't like were the aforementioned character decisions and the ending. I know horror movie characters making dumb decisions is a common cliche to bring up in Big 25, but it is pretty frustrating to see just how stupid these guys are. Jerry in particular being completely unfazed by the Sawyer home and thinking his friends were just playing a prank on him as he practically walked headfirst into his own death was a notable moment where this happened, and it was probably the most egregious example for me. But Sally dragging Franklin into a chainsaw surprise was a close second. As for the ending, I think it's kinda lame that Sally managed to get away by pure coincidence. I think it would have been a lot cooler if she somehow outsmarted the Sawyers in some way to loosen her restraints before taking them off. Maybe she could have faked wanting to try the dinner. That'd have been a cool way to call back to her vegetarianism. As it stands now though, it's just kind of unrealistic, and it detracts from an otherwise fantastic final few scenes. Even though getting there is kind of messy, the final shot of Sally on the truck with Leatherface swinging his chainsaw is iconic, and for good reason. What a way to end the film! The Texas Chainsaw Massacre surprised me. Not only is it great for its time, it's great in general, and while it laid the groundwork for a bustling industry of horror icons, it also does a great job at separating itself from them and still being its own thing. It very easily could have just been an outdated predecessor, but it's still a great watch to this day. For this reason, I'm gonna throw this one an A tier. Boom shakalaka! From one 70s movie to another, we have 1978's Halloween by John Carpenter, who not only directed but composed for the movie as well. Pretty cool. If we assume Texas Chainsaw Massacre was responsible for creating the slasher genre, Halloween was the movie that popularized it and solidified its formula. Rather than having characters travel to unfamiliar locations in order to meet their death, Halloween was unique at the time for bringing death straight to them. It made every pasty white kid in the late 70s and 80s paranoid that Michael Myers was going to show up in their quiet American suburb. Right away, I'll say this. While other films on this list are more unnerving, this movie, to me, was probably the scariest overall. It had the most moments within it where I was at the edge of my seat waiting for something to pop out and scare me. But is it actually good, or is it just good at making me shit my pants? The movie opens from Michael's point of view, stalking his sister Judith in an amazingly crafted cold boobs. Sorry, I got distracted. Anyway, Michael kills her. Michael is admitted to a psychiatric facility for 15 years, and in the modern day of 1978, Dr. Samuel Loomis, his psychiatrist, has traveled to his sanitarium. Michael is to go to court, but he decides he doesn't want to deal with that shit, so he breaks out of the mental hospital and escapes. Honestly, I've been to court, and I don't blame him. Shortly after, in his hometown of Haddonfield, Illinois, Laurie Strode, our protagonist, is walking home from school when Michael begins to stalk her from afar. Laurie is beginning preparations to babysit on Halloween night, walking past the abandoned Myers house with her babysitee, Tommy. He tells her about the boogeyman, the Baba Yaga, if you will, and shortly after we get this hilarious shot of Michael driving.
What is this nigga doing now?
Honestly, if you haven't seen this movie, there's a good chance you didn't know that this visual was in there, and now you do. You're welcome. Honestly though, after this, the movie slows to a screeching halt, which we'll touch on later. It only really starts to get going again after nightfall comes and Michael kills the neighbor's dog. One by one, Michael kills each member of the cast that was introduced in the daytime half of this movie, including murdering a couple shortly after they've had sex. I only mention this because we get another goofy scene of Michael where, after killing this guy named Bob, he wears his glasses over a sheet before killing his girlfriend.
What is this nigga doing?
Just before he kills her though, Annie, Bob's girlfriend, manages to call Lori, and worried by her friend's strange phone call, Lori goes to investigate. It's here where we get the final chase of the movie. Lori 5-gen loops Michael, protects the kid she was babysitting, and after numerous fake-out deaths from Michael, he's finally put down for good by Dr. Loomis, who arrives on the scene with the fucking blicky. Cold. And so, Michael is dead. Or is he? The film ends with a cliffhanger. Michael's corpse is mysteriously missing from the ground outside. The film's main theme begins to play, and we get the final two lines from Lori and Dr. Loomis.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was.
And now, the boogeyman runs free, the film leaving it open as to where Michael ends up next. Maybe he walked off screen and died. Maybe he went into hiding. Or maybe, just maybe, he traveled his way into your neighborhood. Nah, actually, he did none of those things. He starred in 10 other movies, one of which has an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes. Youch!
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
While I think the open ending is kind of ruined by the multitude of sequels and remakes made after, it's genius when viewed by itself. It really adds a layer of mysticism to Michael that wasn't present with Leatherface. I bit my tongue a little bit. I'm gonna keep going though. The nighttime scenes are some of the scariest moments in the slasher genre as a whole and are by far the best parts of the film. But was the film overall good? It was alright. Definitely revolutionary for its time, and when it gets going, it's great. But man, that beginning really dragged on.
I'm bored.
I get it, it was necessary for building tension, and some scenes succeed at being kind of creepy. But when a fourth of your slasher movie goes by without anything dying, and a full hour goes by without any humans dying, all I'm saying is, you probably could have used some of that time better. The kills in this movie are also kinda lame. The dog death is unironically the best kill of the movie because it's shock value, but everything else besides that is just a quick stab and nothing else. I would have liked to see something a little crazier. Not saying it needs to be like Terrifier level, but something a little more creative would have gone a long way. This movie's also really dark. And not in like a, oh, it's really mature kind of way. More like a, I can't fucking see anything kind of way. I honestly kind of like it though. In any other movie, I feel like something like this would be a straight detriment. But in Halloween, I think it works because of the aesthetics. Michael could be in the darkness at any time, anywhere, and the film knows that. This is where the film is the scariest, when the camera is showing a barely lit room or street and the film goes quiet. The suspense here is fantastic, and you can really feel the inspiration John Carpenter got from Alfred Hitchcock, the master of suspense. Everything this film does is to fuel the next jump, and I must say it does an excellent job. Bob's death genuinely startled me in a way some modern movies haven't managed to. Unlike Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think Halloween is much more blatant as a base for other slashers. Not to say that it doesn't have its own redeeming qualities, but what it does is nothing special by today's standards. It was monumentally influential for its time, and we owe a lot to it, but at its core, it's just a serial killer killing people for the sake of killing people. Michael Myers undeniably has aura and is a fun killer to watch in the moment, but other killers later down the line are just more well-defined and interesting. Am I calling this movie bad? Hell no. I just think it's a little by the books, but to its credit, it wrote the books, and I need to factor that in when determining its position on this list. As for other things to note, well, Jamie Lee Curtis, obviously you need to mention her, she was pretty alright. Scream Queen, yeah. The score was great, and I don't know how Michael learned to drive. This man was locked up in an asylum for 15 years since he was 6. Who taught him how to drive? Anyway, I'm thinking B tier. Boom shakalaka! Amazing for its time. Kind of just alright today, but nevertheless, we owe a lot to this horror classic. Whew. Whew.
Enjoying the video? Here's your engagement check. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to support this channel and give commodity money to pay for insulin.
But why do I need to do all that? Isn't my view enough?
Viewing alone is great, but doing these 4 things pushes this video in YouTube's algorithm. And if you made it this far, here's this video's prompt of the day.
So originally for this engagement check, it was going to be something just generic and Halloween related. But for the next 2 movies I cover today, I have to put up this sort of like copyright border to kind of obscure the video so it'll be safe to put ads on it. And I was thinking this might be the straw that broke the camel's back for me to finally make a Patreon. So for this engagement check, just let me know what you'd want from a Patreon. I already have the idea of like uncensored videos, but like if you could think of anything else you'd want, hey, let me know. Thanks.
Wes Craven's A Nightmare on Elm Street is the first slasher on our list to truly delve into the supernatural aspect of these movies. It's well renowned for a reason. It's got great visuals, a compelling villain, and an amazing premise. So, what did I think of this movie? Promise not to hate me? Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't like this one as much as the others, but before I get into why, let's get into that plot summary. The film starts off with one of the better cold opens from this list. Tina Gray is being attacked within her dreams by a man with a burned face wearing a claw-like glove of knives. This scene is great at setting up an atmosphere, with crazy tracking shots of boiler rooms, dark hallways, and eventually a furnace, ultimately culminating in a jump scare from the infamous Freddy Krueger, played by Robert Englund. Englund? I'm gonna call him England, I think that's right. We get introduced to Tina's friends the next morning, Nancy, Glenn, and her boyfriend Rod, whose first line in the movie is unironically this.
I had a hard on this morning when I woke up, Tina.
Amazing. He's just like me! They reveal that they've all had the same dream about the strange man with the glove of knives, so they decide to sleep over at Tina's house for the night. Tina gets killed in her sleep by Freddy, and Rod's there to witness it all in what's probably the steepest departure from the other movies we've covered so far. The kills. In this film, they're brutal, and this right here, this is that good shit. This is a terrifying first death and perfectly sets up what kind of threat Freddy is, immediately establishing the stakes. Rod is framed for murder, Nancy replaces Tina as our protagonist, and we learn that Nancy's father is a policeman that's been put in charge of the case. Drama ensues as Nancy becomes adamant that Rod didn't kill Tina, but Nancy's father isn't having any of that shit and tells his daughter to F off. Throughout the rest of the movie, Nancy continues to dream of Freddy and learns that anything she touches in one of his nightmares is brought into reality with her. After Freddy kills Rod in prison, she manages to grab a fedora with the man's name on it, Fred Krueger, which sparks a reaction out of her mom. Her mom knows who Fred Krueger is. He was a child murderer and maybe a pedophile, but it's unconfirmed, who got off scot-free through a legal loophole, so she and the rest of the parents on Elm Street decided to burn her alive. Burn him alive. Her? Damn. M to F Freddy, man. To prove she's telling the truth, Nancy's mom shows her his glove. Yet despite all of that, Nancy's mom refuses to believe there's anything supernatural going on when Nancy tells her so. Okay. After staying awake for days through coffee, energy drinks, and rattlers, Nancy comes up with an admittedly great plan to catch Freddy. If anything she touches in the dream comes with her when she wakes up, theoretically, all she needs to do to stop Freddy is to bring him back to reality with her and have someone kill him. She tries to enlist the help of her friend Glenn, but after some bickering with his mom, he falls asleep and dies. Whoops. With no other option, Nancy bosses the fuck up and rigs a bunch of Home Alone style traps around her home, setting an alarm and heading into the dream world herself. And yeah, barring some extra details, her plan works. She brings him into the real world and slows him down long enough for her dad to arrive and put him down for good. But not before Freddy catches one final body, Nancy's mom.
Has got it going on.
Then the film takes a weird direction. So in the last 10 minutes, we get a Freddy fake-out death where it looks like he might be coming back, but then Nancy proclaims that his powers work based on fear, and if she's not afraid of him, he's powerless over her. This seems to work as Freddy finally passes on, but then Nancy walks outside to a foggy morning with her mother standing there greeting her. All of her dead friends are in a car waiting for her. And suddenly, the car's hood flips over, revealing the colors of Freddy's sweater, and the car begins driving off on its own. Then, Freddy kills Nancy's mom, and the movie just ends.
Man, what the fuck is you talking about? What the fuck was that?
I'm sorry.
So aside from that ending, you might be asking yourself, hey Dity, how come you didn't like this one? That seemed fine to me. Well, this movie has two big flaws that I feel hold it back from being truly great. The first is the aforementioned ending. I'm not a fan of it. The open-endedness of Halloween's ending worked because it was subtle. Sure, it was sequel bait, but it worked on its own too, because of the implication that Michael could now be anywhere, including your neighborhood. Plus, even if you didn't like it, at least everything still happened.
And then you have this movie.
The reason I don't like this one is because of how in your face it is. We have this big speech about facing your fears and putting Freddy to rest for good, only for the final 2 minutes of the film being a giant middle finger to the audience. Was this whole movie a dream? Did any of this shit fucking matter? I guess not. Freddy's still alive, your time is wasted, see you back in a year's time for the sequel. I thought maybe I was missing something, so I looked online to see if that really is what the ending was, and yeah, no, that's really what the ending was. There's no hidden message behind it. Nancy was dreaming the whole time and Freddy has her trapped in a never-ending nightmare. What a load of unsatisfying bullshit. Apparently Wes Craven didn't actually want this ending for the film, but it was pushed for by the producer, and yeah, I can see why he didn't want it. It genuinely ruins everything. Freddy's still alive, Nancy and her friends have unknown fates, and the movie makes you question whether or not anything actually legitimately happened or not, and not in a good way. It's just not satisfying and ruins what otherwise was a pretty great film. Well, except for one teeny tiny other big thing, it's really big actually. The acting. It fucking sucks. I'm sorry. It's so fucking bad, guys. Look, I'm sorry. I know it was the 80s and standards were different, but actually no, I'm not using that point, because guess what? Halloween's acting was fine. Texas Chainsaw's acting, great. This movie embodies that 80s cheese in the worst possible way. I find it so hard to get invested in a scene when characters are reading off lines like this.
Did you have any weird dreams last night?
Slept like a rock.
Do you believe that people can dream about what's going to happen?
No.
I've got a crazy favor to ask you.
Uh-oh.
It's nothing hard or anything. I'm gonna go and look for somebody. And I want you to stand like a sort of a guard, okay? okay?
I had a hard-on this morning when I woke up, Tina.
The only person here whose acting truly shined is Robert Englund as Freddy, but that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. He's an iconic actor for a reason, and he absolutely steals the show. I could see why later entries chose to lean more into dark comedy with him as a focus, because holy hell, I'd get tired of the alternative real quick. Seriously though, Freddy's great. He strikes a nice balance between creepy, funny, and gross, and the film manages to make him simultaneously likable and a pedophile somehow, which I gotta give props for. You could learn a thing or two! I also like Nancy as a final girl, but only in concept. I think the theme of her facing her fears in order to stop Freddy is pretty cool, and as stated previously, I think her final fight with him is badass. I'd be remiss not to mention this movie's greatest strength, its visuals, presentation, and premise. The idea of dying in your dreams and getting killed in real life was a great idea for the time and would probably still be today had this movie not popularized the gimmick. Nightmares are fantastically directed with long, winding corridors of boiler rooms and stuff that makes you scream and squirm. Bugs, blood, guts, etc. It's so nasty in such a good way. The kills in this film are great too, with Glenn's fate in particular being fucking gnarly. They made Johnny Depp into a human flood of paste. Brutal. As for the other things I liked that I couldn't fit neatly anywhere else, that scene in the bathtub is really well done. I love the iconic shot of Freddy's gloves slowly rising above the water between Nancy's legs. And no, it's not because I'm a pervert. I just like good composition when I see it. The special effects are great for the time too, especially Tina's death. I still don't know how the hell they managed to pull this off in the 80s. And,
I had a hard-on this morning when I woke up, Tina.
Yeah, I got nothing else. Don't get me wrong, this film is iconic for a reason. It pioneered so many great techniques and ideas. It fundamentally changed the slasher genre for the better and is a good starting film for the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. But honestly, compared to the other movies on this list, its flaws actively detract from what could have been an excellent film. The critiques I mentioned for the other films thus far keep them from being a perfect rating in my book, but they're easily truncated by the sheer amount of great things that are present within them as well. With Nightmare on Elm Street, it has an equal amount of incredibly high highs, but also incredibly low lows. For that reason, I think I'm gonna throw this one in C tier. Before you get your panties in a twist, it bears repeating that being in C tier doesn't mean that the movie is bad. It just means I didn't like it as much as the other films on this list. If you're looking for an exact number rating, I think it's like a 7. It's a good movie, just one I had some issues with. Oop. Hang on, I gotta take this. Hello?
What's your favorite scary movie?
Dude, I'm getting to it. Some people are so fucking impatient, dude. I swear to God.
What do you want from me?
To see what your insides feel like.
At last, we've arrived at our final movie of the video, Scream 1996. Scream is a very different kind of slasher movie when compared to the previous 3 we've covered today. By the time the movie was released, slasher films were past their prime, and the tropes seen in them had become common staples of horror movies in general. Scream is a film that tries to not only be self-aware of these horror movie tropes, but actively embrace and celebrate them. The film pays homage to every movie we've covered thus far and more, like Friday the 13th and Prom Night. It's refreshing to see a movie so earnestly wear its inspirations on its sleeves like this. I wonder what indie director made this charming little flick. Wes Craven? Bruh. The self-glaze is crazy! Nah, but seriously, I vastly prefer this film over the other Wes Craven movie we've covered today, and hopefully after a brief plot synopsis, you'll see why. We start the film with the best cold open on this list. Casey Becker, home alone making some popcorn. Suddenly she gets a call from an unknown number. At first she wants to hang up, but the voice on the other end sounds like Spike Spiegel after he took an aphrodisiac, so out of sexual curiosity she continues to talk with him. They flirt, the voice on the other end asks what kind of scary movie she likes, they bond, and eventually, Casey says she doesn't have a boyfriend. Soon after that, we get this chilling line.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
Casey is immediately outed as a lying, cheating bitch when her boyfriend is shown tied up on her porch. The voice on the other end quizzes her on her horror movie knowledge. If she gets a question wrong, her boyfriend dies. Panicking, she doesn't answer the final question correctly, which leads to them both dying after a confrontation with this film's boogeyman, Ghostface. Though to be honest, they were probably gonna die anyway. Like, even if she did get the answer right, I mean, like, what was gonna happen? Was Ghostface just gonna let her go?
Name the killer in Friday the 13th.
Jason's mom.
I didn't know you were chill like that. Okay, have a good night.
The news of two teenagers gruesomely dying hits the town of Woodsboro like a ton of bricks. Everyone's talking about it. Meanwhile, Sydney Prescott, a classmate of Casey's, is reminiscing about the death of her mother before her boyfriend, Billy Loomis, climbs in through her window. Get it? Loomis like Dr. Loomis? Billy and her talk about their relationship using a lot of metaphorical movie-related phrasing, such as them being referred to as PG-13 and him no longer wanting to be headed for television. After this extremely subtle foreshadowing ends, Sid flashes her boobs and we cut to the next day at school. It's about here where you realize that this movie reeks of the 90s, from its visuals to its soundtrack and even just down to its general vibes. No other movie on this list has as much 90s white boy swag as Scream.
Hey Stu, didn't you used to date Casey?
Yeah, for like 2 seconds.
Oh shit, William Afton? After getting a call from Ghostface, Sydney is attacked but manages to escape. Billy runs into her literally right after, however, and doesn't exactly do himself any favors in the I'm totally not Ghostface department. Billy's arrested while Sydney gets escorted out of the area by police. However, as she's leaving the police station, she runs into Gail Weathers, a reporter. The death of Sydney's mom was kind of famous around Woodsboro thanks to Gail, who ran a story about how the man accused of murdering her, Cotton Weary, didn't actually do it. She thinks he was framed. Naturally, making her mom's death a commodity doesn't quite sit well with Sydney, so she punches the shit out of her. Damn! After this, the principal of the school is killed. I'm not really sure why, but this clears Billy of suspicion. To celebrate school getting cancelled because of his death, Stu, aka William Afton, decides to throw a party at his place. It's here at this party where we get the infamous scene detailing the rules of a horror movie, as a bunch of Sydney's friends lounge around watching slasher films.
Jesus Christ, you don't know the rules? There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. Number 1, you can never have sex. Number 2, you can never drink or do drugs.
I love crack!
And number 3,
if you're a bad Latina, you gotta let commodity hit.
Yeah! While Sydney and Billy have sex upstairs, Ghostface arrives and starts being a little rascal. We get one of the best kills in the movie, the garage door death, with everyone at the party soon stumbling upon it.
So this part just isn't in the movie? I don't know what I was talking about.
Gail, the reporter, arrives at the scene, trying to get the inside scoop as Billy finishes scooping Sydney's insides.
Oh, come on, that was good!
Billy and Sydney are attacked by Ghostface, with Billy seemingly getting a fatal stab wound. After Sydney does a 5-gen loop and hand-waving over some additional chicanery, Sydney, Stu, and Gail are the only ones left standing, only to realize that Billy is still alive. Then we get the biggest reveal of the movie. The true killer, or killers. That's right, the big twist of this film is that Ghostface was 2 white boys this whole time.
William Afton's a bad guy?
Billy and Stu reveal that they were the ones who killed and raped Sydney's mother a year ago, driven not only by psychopathic urges to kill, but to do so in a way that remains faithful to the horror movies they grew up watching. We get a long fight between Sydney, Gail, Billy, and Stu with multiple fake-out deaths before eventually Sydney finally manages to kill Stu by dropping a TV on his head, and for Billy, she stabs him with an umbrella while wearing the Ghostface mask. Awesome. And barring some extra details, this is pretty much the end of the movie. So, what did I think? Well, critically, I think there's a lot of little stuff that could have been improved, such as the constant callbacks to older horror movies. Like, yeah, we get the point, Wes Craven. You really, really like horror movies. You really, really, really like horror movies. I get it. I also thought it was definitely the least scary movie out of all the films we've covered today. Other than that, though, I thoroughly enjoyed myself with Scream, and I dare say, from a personal standpoint, it might be the movie I had the most fun with. The best part about this movie is Billy and Stu, full stop. I was unfortunately spoiled regarding the big twist at the end involving there being two killers, but I forgot their names over time, and I'm thankful that I did. Billy is an amazing red herring turned actual killer. Even though the foreshadowing towards the beginning of the movie is kind of obvious in hindsight, Ghostface appearing and killing the principal while Billy was locked up made you genuinely do a double take regarding whether or not he actually did anything. The film sticks with this did he or didn't he shtick all the way up until the very last few minutes of the movie where he fakes his death. And I gotta admit, in spite of everything I knew going in, this moment made me reconsider it all as if I'd misremembered something. I was like, okay, was there actually two killers? Like, what's going on? Everything down to his attitude, his acting, his mannerisms, the circumstances around the killings, they all lead down to this amazing fake out death and segue into one of the best twist reveals in horror. Stu isn't half bad either, but I'll admit he kind of pales in comparison to Billy. At least he's entertaining, which is all he really needs to be. I think their motive is pretty cool too. It's not uncommon for violent people to take inspiration from the gory pieces of media they consume, and I think this film walks a fine line between glorifying that violence while also acknowledging that these movies are just that, movies. If you apply any of their made-up rules in real life, you're going to be in for a disappointing end. There is no final girl in this movie. There is no virgin woman who outruns the killer as the sole survivor. The final fight is with two teenage boys, not some demented supernatural serial killer. This is a horror movie that tries to be self-aware, and I think unlike a lot of its contemporaries who try to do the same thing, this one actually works as both a critique and a celebration of the modern slasher. It'd be so easy to just do one or the other, and I very easily could have seen a world where this film just tries to be less slasher movie, but the characters are realistic? Adoy! I think the other thing I liked is that even though this movie was released in the late 90s, it has a 2000s feel to it, likely a placebo from a very similar vibe seen in Scary Movie, which was released in the 2000s. It gives its own distinct feel from the slashes of the 90s and the 70s and the 80s, while not veering too far into being a product of its time. I do miss this vibe though, the punk rock soundtrack, the character acting, the Californian-ass dialogue, it's all here. For one last point, that opening scene really was something, man. I wasn't kidding when I say it was one of the best cold opens for a film I've ever seen, and pulled me right the fuck in. The way this is shot and staged is fantastic, and I love how realistic the dialogue on the phone is. At first, you might want to converse with someone like this out of sheer curiosity for how interestingly they speak. And when you get hit with that gut punch of a sentence that lets you know they're watching you, it's insane stuff, man. This scene was also how I found out that Jason wasn't in the first Friday the 13th movie.
You stupid tourist!
Yeah? You're at the end of the video, buddy. Tourist or not, I got your ad revenue.
Here comes the money, 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 money.
Seriously though, Scream is great, and I think it's an amazing film to end things off on. While yes, it deliberately subverts from horror tropes of old, you can tell it was never out of malice. This movie respects the hell out of these old slashers and aimed to tell a whole new generation of viewers to go and watch them. Just like I'm doing now. If any of these movies interest you in any way, don't let their age fool you. In spite of some of these films being over 50 years old, some of them are still more scary, more unnerving, and more thought-provoking than some movies being released today. They're the grandfathers of your favorite modern horror flicks, and you can learn a lot by citing where your favorite cliches and tropes originate from. So this Halloween, turn out the lights, get some candy if you're not fat and diabetic like me, and go watch some slashers. Anyway, I'm gonna give Scream an S.
Boom shakalaka!
Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all next week. Where are you going, Mr. Beer? What the fuck?
Bruh.
Fucking Donkey Kong? That's the best you could fucking get?
Yeah, dude.
You look fucking goofy, bro.
Listen, dude.
You look goofy.
What's the matter with
You look fucking goofy.
What are you talking about?
I'm not scared at all by what you're doing right here. You fucking lured me out here. You got the knife. Everything would have been perfect if you had some form of other. What the fuck is wrong?
Brother, I can't pay bills.
It's one thing.
I can't afford anything.
I need one thing from you. I need one thing. This is all I ask from you. I don't ask for you to do shit. This is all I want for you to do. Fucking Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
What are you called? What's your killer name?
Big Monkey. Come on. Big Monkey.
And you know we run the city, bitch. How much I gotta pay for a titty pic?
Special thanks to my best friend and possibly gay lover, Nico, aka Mad World Studios, for appearing in this video as Big Monkey. I would have shouted him out when he appeared, but obviously it would ruin the comedic timing. So, yeah.
Arigato for watching this video. And be sure to subscribe to Dity channel. That would be super cigar.